If you went out and you borrowed $500,000 to buy a home, you're not paying taxes on the $500,000 that you're borrowing. And if you went out and you did a cash out refinance, where you pulled out $500,000 from your home, you're not paying taxes on the $500,000 that you're getting from your cash out refinance because debt is not taxable. But what's happening here is you're getting the $600 million from the bank. It's not taxable. But now if you use the $600 million plus this $400 million to go and buy the stock, now this debt is being taxed, not because of the debt, but because of how you spend it. So now you have this 1% tax going on the full $1 billion, which is a way to discourage stock buybacks. Now you might be saying, no, the government's not trying to discourage stock buybacks. They just want to get some revenue from the stock buybacks. But you have to understand, why does the government tax things? Why does the government tax things like cigarettes and tobacco use? It's a way to discourage things that the government doesn't want to do. So it's a way to discourage stock buybacks and too much stock buybacks, because if corporations have to send a lot of money to the government, they might think twice before they do stock buybacks, and maybe they take this money and reinvest it back into the company. Let me give you a real-life example to really diagram this out. Facebook's parent company Meta made just under $29 billion in 2022, and this is from the Investors Relations page on the Meta website. So in 2022, Facebook's parent company Meta made just under $29 billion, and then in the early part of 2023, Meta announced that they're going to do a $40 billion buyback. So how are they going to fund a $40 billion buyback when they only made $29 billion last year? Well, they're going to use the help of debt to now fund this $40 billion buyback, which is called a levered corporate buyback. But why does a corporation do corporate buybacks in the first place? Can't they use this money for something better, like invest it back into the company? Well, this has to go to something called corporate governance. This is how the corporate ladder looks in most companies. Something like this. Every company is going to have their own variation, but at the bottom you have analysts and associates and VPs and directors, then your CEO level of executives like your CEOs. But then on the side, you also have the shareholders. These are the people that own the company. Now, if this is a publicly traded company, these shareholders can be regular people like you and me. But this can also be the people that work in the company. Many times you're going to see CEOs and other C-level executives get some form of shares or equity in a company. Many times also you'll see people like here and here also get shares in a company. And then in some companies you'll also have associates and analysts also getting shares in a company. So who's the owner of the company? Well, this could be really anybody depending on what the company is. Now, the shareholders want to see the price of their stock go up because they get paid not with a salary. These are people that are getting paid for owning the company. So they get paid when the company makes more money. Now, this happens when the company makes more money and more people want to invest in the company, or if the corporation does buybacks, which then also boosts the stock price. So shareholders want to see the stock price go up. People who own the stock in the 401k want to see the stock go up. People who invest in this money on their own want to see the stock go up. So now the shareholders are saying, hey, CEO, we own this company. You, the CEO, work for us. You have to drive up the value of the company. One way that they do that is then they tell everybody to work, to improve their efficiencies, to make more money, to do things in the company that will help the company become more valuable. The second thing that they can do is say, hey, CEO, we see that we made a lot of money this year. How about now we take some of this money and we use it to buy back the stock, because that's the way to make the shareholders richer. Because now when the corporations take their money and they buy back stock or they do dividends, this money is going to the shareholders. It's not going inside of the company. It's a way to enrich the investors who own a piece of the company. See, this is where we really have to match intentions with education, because everybody wants to see their investment portfolio grow. Everybody wants to see their retirement portfolio grow, and the government has been incentivizing people to invest in something like their 401k, because that's the way for people to be able to fund their own retirement and not just rely on social media. And in order for your 401k and a retirement account to grow, you need your stock prices to grow as well, because if stock prices rise, your investment portfolios rise. So in this instance, stock buybacks benefit people because now your retirement portfolios rise as well. But the reason why stock buybacks end up getting so much heat is because they get abused sometimes. We remember what happened in 2007. In 2007, we saw a record amount of stock buybacks. Corporations were doing stock buybacks hand over fist, and then came 2008. the market burst. The whole financial market started coming down, and now corporations didn't have any money to protect themselves because they spent all their money on corporate buybacks, enriching the investors, which meant they had no money to protect against layoffs, they had no money to protect the company against a bankruptcy, and then the whole financial system almost imploded. Now, this is one of those things that isn't a very attractive answer, but it's the financially educated answer that stock buybacks are good until they become bad. Like most things, too much of a good thing can be a bad thing, and where most people are saying either stock buybacks are horrible and they're destroying America, or other people are saying stock buybacks are amazing, there's always a balance to things where it's good versus bad. Stock buybacks encourage people to invest and see their investment portfolios grow, but when a corporation does too much stock buybacks, they go way too deep into debt to fund their corporate buybacks. Now they're going to be using their future incomes not to grow the company, but to pay off the previous corporate buybacks, which creates opportunity for a new company to come in and undercut that first company. So stock buybacks have their place, but when a corporation overdoes it, they can shoot themselves in the foot. The reason why this becomes a problem then is because then people pay the price, whether it be through layoffs or through a bankruptcy. And then if the government has to come in and bail out the company by using taxpayers' dollars to bail out a company that did way too many corporate buybacks, you can see why people get upset, because now a corporation enriched the investors, they made all the investors rich, and then the company went bankrupt because they didn't use the money the right way, and then the government uses tax dollars to bail out the company. Which is why we shouldn't be bailing out companies. We have to let the companies fail. That way a company can learn, and that way then companies will be more likely to be smarter with their corporate buybacks, because if they realize that if they screw up, they won't be bailed out by the government, then they'll have to be a little bit smarter with the way that they use their money and be more protectionary with the money that they have and not overdo the corporate buybacks. Because if you don't have that fear, if you always have that insurance that no matter what happens, you're going to have somebody else bail you out or give you a check, then what's your incentive not to be risky with your money? See, our entire economic system is intertwined together because everything is built up by people. Corporations aren't a separate thing that run by themselves. They're run by people. And our government isn't this thing that is self-funded and it has its own income. It's funded by people and tax dollars. So everything is intertwined together, and this is why financial education is so important. That way we can understand how the different parts play into one another instead of just hating one thing, because when you hate one thing, well, it can shoot you in the foot somewhere else. Like when people talk about raising corporate taxes, that isn't taxing just the corporation. It taxes people as well, because a corporation is made up by people. And so understanding how the different parts of our economic system are intertwined with one another is one of those basic levels of financial education that we should have all been taught, but most of us are never taught this. If you enjoyed this short clip from my longer videos, here's another clip that I think you'll love. And while you're at it, if you're interested in learning more about how to start generating passive income, our team put together an amazing guide on how to start generating passive income for free. All you got to do is click that button right over there. Thank you for watching, and as always, keep hustling.